Welcome to Stories of Brave Mothers, a channel dedicated to telling real and touching stories of brave mothers from around the world.
She was abandoned with a baby in her arms and not a single dollar to her name. They said she wouldn't make it, that a single black mother didn't stand a chance. But Danielle refused to be just another statistic. With no money, no support, and no help, she grabbed used clothes and started selling them on the streets. What no one saw coming was that behind that tired mother stood an unstoppable entrepreneur. This is the story of a woman who, all on her own, built an empire and proved that brave mothers don't just survive, they win. The sky was covered in heavy clouds that early spring morning in Cleveland, Ohio, as if the weather itself could feel the shift that was coming. On the cracked concrete sidewalk of a modest street on the outskirts of the city, Danielle Harris pushed a stroller slowly, her eyes hollow, her body limp, her chest tight. She wasn't going anywhere. She walked just to breathe. The night before, Jamal, the father of her baby, had walked out the door with 2 suitcases and a short sentence. "You'll figure it out, Danny. I can't do this anymore." She stood there, holding her baby with a leaking diaper. She felt her heart shatter like glass hitting the floor. He simply left. Danielle was 27 years old. She had been a mother for just 4 months, and now she was completely alone. The house still smelled of cheap shampoo and spilled formula. The makeshift crib sat in the corner of the room. The pantry was empty. A shelf held neatly folded baby clothes next to a stack of bills Jamal had promised to pay, but never did. She cried in silence for 3 days. The baby cried with her, not understanding. The next-door neighbor, an old man named Hank, banged on the wall and asked for quiet. Life didn't stop, but Danielle had no more tears. All she had left was an instinct that never abandons a brave mother, the instinct to fight. She went out with the stroller, empty except for her baby. She needed to think. She needed food. She needed an idea. In her pocket, $6.52, and no plan. She passed by a donation shop, one of those places where everything costs $1 or $2. In the window, a colorful sign read, "Sale, clothes starting at $0.50. She walked in, not because she needed clothes, but because the stroller was big. The baby was asleep, and she just wanted to sit for a while, pretend she was there for a reason. As she walked down the aisles, her eyes locked on a faded but stylish denim jacket, the kind of thing she would have worn before the pregnancy. She picked it up, checked the tag, $1. Something lit up deep inside her. Danielle had always had good taste. She knew how to match colors, spot quality stitching, recognize unique pieces. She'd grown up thrifting with her mom, who sewed on the side to help pay the bills. She looked around. Dresses, handbags, shoes, some in great condition, some nearly new. She remembered a friend who used to resell clothes on Facebook Marketplace. "Some people make good money doing this, Danny. You just have to know what to pick." She went home with the jacket, 2 floral blouses, and a pair of toddler boots, all for less than $5. She cleaned the items thoroughly, took pictures with her old phone, and posted, "Gently used clothes. Super affordable. I can deliver in the neighborhood. Single mom trying to start over." She shared it in a local Facebook group. In less than 30 minutes, someone commented, "I want the jacket. Can you bring it today?" The next day, Danielle walked to the metro station with the baby strapped in a sling and the folded jacket in a bag. The buyer was a smiling woman named Tanisha, who looked at Danielle and the baby and quietly said, "You're a warrior, girl. God bless you. The jacket is beautiful." She handed Danielle a $10 bill. Danielle didn't have change, so Tanisha told her to keep the rest. That day, she bought bread, eggs, and a can of formula. It was the first night in weeks she went to sleep without hunger pains. Something changed after that. Danielle started going to the donation shop every day. She spent hours digging, learned how to spot valuable brands, high-quality fabrics, lightly worn kids' shoes. She began to understand what sold faster: colorful blouses, interview dresses, baby outfits. She bought for pennies, sold for $5, $8, sometimes $12. She created an Instagram account and wrote this in the bio: "Every piece sold helps a mom restart." People began to follow, to share. A woman from church asked her to sell some donated clothes. Danielle organized everything, sorted by size, took good photos, sold it all in a week. The woman was so impressed. She gave Danielle a $20 thank you. Even with very little, Danielle started to dream small. She wanted to buy a ring light, then a used clothing rack. She taped a handwritten monthly goals list on the fridge. It wasn't just about money. It was about dignity, about looking in the mirror and seeing someone with purpose. She started going to bigger thrift stores, took 2 buses to get there, arrived early to grab the best pieces, brought the baby in the stroller with hanging toys. At night, after Isaiah fell asleep, she joined reseller forums on Reddit. She learned this wasn't just hustling. It was a legitimate business. People were making real money selling secondhand clothes online. If she could hit $200 a week, she could cover rent and the basics. But life doesn't move in straight lines. One rainy afternoon, on the way home, Danielle slipped while crossing a street with the stroller. She fell to her knees on the asphalt. The bags got soaked. The clothes spilled into filthy water. She sat there for a moment, on the ground, wondering if that was the sign to give up. The baby cried. The new clothes were soaked. People walked by in a hurry, not even glancing. But Danielle stood up, picked everything up, shook it off, wiped what she could, and whispered, "Not today. Today's not the day I give up." From that day forward, she began sealing every item in plastic, bought a sturdier backpack. She was learning, failing, falling, but always getting back up. She started selling at community fairs too, spread a colorful blanket on the ground, organized clothes by color, used clothespins to hang things on fences, created bundle deals like buy 2, get 1 free. Customers started recognizing her. "You're that mom with the stylish backpack, right?" She smiled and said, "That's me. And there's coffee too, if you want." Danielle began keeping a little journal. In it, she recorded what she sold each day, compliments she received, the setbacks she faced. It became her book of battles and gratitude. One night, she wrote, "I don't know where this is going, but I know I never want to go back to where I was." And it was in those early days, with clothes folded on the couch and her baby asleep in her lap, that Danielle laid the foundation for something powerful. She didn't know it yet, but she was about to turn her pain into a movement, and more than a movement, into a brand. What had started as survival was slowly becoming purpose, and Danielle, eyes tired, but soul steadier by the day, was just getting started. Danielle Harris was finally starting to feel like things were coming together. Clothes neatly packed in plastic bags, her profile gaining followers, a few loyal customers complimenting her taste and asking when the next batch would drop. She smiled with her baby in her arms and felt something close to hope. But anyone trying to build an empire with a baby in their arms and coins in their pocket knows the road isn't paved. It was like walking through a minefield of surprises, each one testing not only her courage, but her deepest belief that she was doing the right thing. The first major blow came with her baby's health. Isaiah, her son, started spiking high fevers at night. She rushed him to the public ER twice in the same week. The doctors diagnosed a virus but advised total rest and constant hydration. Danielle couldn't stop. Every day she didn't post meant a missed sale. Every fair she skipped was a missed chance to pay the rent. But she stopped, because brave mothers know when to slow down, even when the world demands they keep rushing. She canceled deliveries and posted a sincere update. "Isaiah's not feeling well. I need to take care of him. I'll be back soon with new items. Some responded with kindness, others with silence. And in that silence, the bills started to pile up. The rent was 3 weeks late. The landlord knocked and got straight to the point. 1 more week, and I need the unit back. Danielle swallowed her tears. She knew begging wouldn't help. That night, she slept sitting up, Isaiah in her arms, back aching, heart pounding. She thought about giving up, about going back to her mother's house, swallowing her pride, starting over. But she knew herself. She knew that what she was building wasn't just a business. It was the only legacy she could leave her son. When Isaiah got better, Danielle hit the streets with more drive than ever. She decided to widen her reach, started selling not only on Facebook and Instagram, but also on popular resale apps in the UAS like Poshmark and OfferUp. But the digital world comes with its own traps. She faced her first unfair return when a customer claimed the item was stained, something Danielle knew wasn't true. She cried out of frustration, but she replied politely, just like she'd learned from watching entrepreneur videos on YouTube. She apologized, even without guilt, issued a refund, and kept going. Some days, no one replied to her posts. The pieces felt invisible. Danielle rechecked the photos, the descriptions, the pricing. She began to wonder if maybe she was selling things nobody really wanted. But then, out of nowhere, a message would arrive. Loved your curation. You've got an amazing eye for stylish pieces. And that would rekindle the spark. It was around that time she took a bold risk, hosting a small garage sale at her home. She asked her neighbor for help, printed homemade flyers, and passed them around nearby streets. The event would be on a Saturday, with soft music, coffee, and a little kids area made of Isaiah's own toys. The night before, Danielle scrubbed the garage with care, sorted clothes by category, hung the best pieces, arranged shoes in a decorated box. It was the first time she showcased her collection like a real store. The morning of the event, the sky was clear. The baby played in a playpen. The first customer arrived at 9:05 a.m., then another, and another. In just 3 hours, Danielle had sold half her stock. A woman named Mrs. Lee, who lived 3 blocks away, was so touched by Danielle's story that she returned with a bag of name-brand clothes to donate. She said, "You've got talent, girl, and guts. This is going somewhere." That night, Danielle counted $184 in sales. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to pay half the rent and still buy diapers and food for the week. She cried, holding her son, and wrote in her journal, "Today I felt like a businesswoman, not because I made a sale, but because I believed in myself." But every climb comes with the risk of a fall. A few days later, during a late-night delivery, Danielle had her phone stolen. She was distracted, holding a bag of clothes and balancing Isaiah in the sling. A man ran by, snatched the phone from her hand, and disappeared into the dark street. She screamed, cried, but no one helped. That phone was her work tool. It held her photos, contacts, apps, scheduled sales, access to the store profile. It felt like someone had stolen her right hand. For 2 days, she was paralyzed, couldn't respond to messages, couldn't update her platforms. She felt like she was back on that cold floor of loneliness. But Danielle was built of resilience. She grabbed an old phone she'd kept in a drawer, managed to restore part of her accounts, got a new SIM card from a convenience store, and posted online. Had a rough scare, but I am back, thanks to everyone who reached out. And once again, solidarity showed up. One follower mailed her a used phone. Another placed an order just to help. Danielle never asked for charity, but her determination inspired empathy. It was impossible not to be moved by that tired-eyed, soft-smiling mother who was, bit by bit, rebuilding her life with fabric, buttons, and hope. Week after week, Danielle grew more experienced. She learned how to create promotional kits like a job interview bundle, Blazer, blouse, and modest pants. She added a highlight on Instagram called Mom Finds, where she posted baby clothes and budget tips. Her audience grew. So did her confidence. Then came the most unexpected invitation of her journey so far. A small community school in the neighborhood asked her to give a talk on women's entrepreneurship. Danielle laughed, nervous. "I'm not a real entrepreneur," she said. The principal replied, "Yes, you are. One of the best. You just need to believe it." She stayed up all night writing her speech, delivered it with a shaky but firm voice, to a room full of women, many of them single moms, just like her. She told her story, showed pictures of how it all started, shared tips on how to take great photos, where to find quality clothes, how to deal with difficult customers. At the end, a young woman named Leanne approached her and said, "You gave me the courage to try. I thought it wasn't possible to start from nothing." Danielle walked out with her head held high, not because of a sale, but because she had inspired someone, and that became one of the most important moments in her journey. But her biggest test was still to come. Her landlord decided to sell the property. Danielle had 30 days to move out. Panic set in. Finding a new place with a baby and unstable income felt nearly impossible. She cried in the bathroom, hiding. Everything she had built felt like it was hanging by a thread. Then she received a message on Instagram. An old customer named Emily had just renovated a small commercial space on the ground floor of a house she inherited from her father. She said, "I don't know if you're looking, but I've got a space available. I thought of you. Can we talk?" Danielle visited the place that same day. It was small, with bare cement floors, but it had a glass storefront and a back room. It wasn't a home, but it was a dream. Emily offered symbolic rent for the first few months. She remembered every delivery Danielle had made, always with care and kindness. "You deserve to grow," she said. Danielle didn't know whether to laugh or faint. It was more than just a shop. It was the chance to give your profile a home, a headquarters. Over the next few days, she moved into a small room at her aunt's house and spent every day at the new space, setting up what would become her first physical store. It had no sign yet, no air conditioning, but it had soul. Every rack she installed, every hanger she placed, it felt like she was finally writing her name in a place where she used to feel invisible. Danielle would still face many challenges: taxes, difficult customers, sleepless nights with Isaiah sick, inventory decisions, fear of the future. But there, with her son sitting on the store floor, playing with tags, and she decorating the window with colorful sheets and Christmas lights, one thing was certain: that brave mother was no longer just surviving. She was building something, not just for herself, but for other women who, like her, had been discarded by the system, ignored by luck, but who chose, even so, to bloom through the cracks in the concrete. And Danielle was only beginning to show the world what she was made of. The small commercial space Danielle had rented with Emily's help was barely 100 square feet and had a dusty display window. But to her, it was more than enough. It was solid ground. After so long walking through uncertainty. In those early days, she carried Isaiah in her arms as she swept the floor, hung up hangers, and organized the racks with colorful clothes she'd handpicked one by one. She bought white paint using the profit from 3 sales and painted the walls herself, late at night, with her son asleep on a mattress on the floor. She made the store sign by hand, using a scrap piece of MDF, some acrylic paint, and a fine brush. She wrote, "Rising Closet, Fashioning Fresh Starts." It wasn't just a cute name. It was real. Every item sold carried the story of a woman who chose not to give up. At first, the neighborhood looked on with curiosity. It wasn't every day that a second-hand clothing shop popped up out of nowhere, especially one run by a black woman, on her own, with a baby in her arms and a light in her eyes that couldn't be dimmed. She knew opening the door wasn't enough. She had to create connection. She began offering coffee and tea to customers, set up a little box of children's books in one corner of the shop, created a space with a full-length mirror and handwritten notes that read, "You're stronger than you think. Be kind when you look in the mirror. This outfit matches your story." Customers came and stayed. Some shopped, others just talked. An elderly woman named Dolores began visiting Danielle every Wednesday, just to see how my brave girl is doing. One afternoon, Danielle noticed something different. A mother walked in with 3 small kids, tired eyes, slumped shoulders. Danielle smiled, offered her water, and let the kids play in the little corner of the store. The woman left with 2 bags of clothes and a hug. The next day, she came back with a friend. Word of mouth began to spread. So did her online reach. The profile passed 1,000 followers. People began sending clothing donations. Others asked for advice, tips, wanted to know how Danielle managed to turn basic pieces into stylish looks. That's when Danielle made the boldest decision of her journey so far. With the profits from one strong month, she bought a second-hand camera and a tripod. She taught herself to film simple Instagram videos, showing how to build interview outfits for under $20. She created series like 5 pieces every strong woman should own and clothes that boost self-esteem. Her tone was simple, direct, human, and people fell in love with it. The video that changed everything wasn't planned. Danielle recorded a Reels video telling her own story in just 60 seconds. A single mother, abandoned, broke, who started reselling clothes to survive. She told it with her baby in her lap, the shop in the background, and ended with the line, "It might not look like much to some, but for me, this is my revolution." The video blew up. 100,000 views in 1 week. Thousands of likes, comments from all over the United States. "You're such an inspiration. Thank you for sharing your story. Where can I send you clothes to donate?" Danielle was in shock. She sat on the shop floor and cried, not from fear, not from despair, but from something she hadn't felt in a long time. Pride? Boxes began arriving in the mail. Women from Alabama, Texas, California, sending clothes, letters, words of encouragement. One note read, "My mom was just like you. She raised me alone. She would have loved your store. Keep going, for all of us." With that boost, Danielle decided to make things official. She registered her business, got her EIN, learned about taxes, opened a business bank account, invested in branded tags, created packaging with positive affirmations, and through it all, she was still a mom. She took Isaiah to the clinic, to the community preschool, to the park on weekends, played with him, sang to him, read to him. He grew up watching his mom as a hurricane of courage. One day, while she was putting tags on clothes, Danielle received a call out of the blue. It was a journalist from a small local newspaper. She had seen the viral video and wanted to write a feature about the shop and its founder. Danielle stammered, said she wasn't great with interviews. The reporter laughed and replied, "You're better than you think. Just tell it the way you always do, with truth." The article came out with the headline, "Rising Closet, a shop born from a mother, a baby in her arms, and a dream in her heart." The impact was immediate. More people visited the shop. A local collective of Black women entrepreneurs reached out to offer support. Danielle was invited to join a creative economy fair. There, she set up a booth with hanging clothes, motivational quotes, and photos of the store's evolution. At the center was a sign that read, "Being a mother was never a barrier. It's always been my fuel." Visitors got emotional. They bought. They asked questions. Danielle's name began to circulate. 1 month later, a social incubator offered her a free course in business management and marketing. Danielle spent nights studying, learning to price more effectively, plan inventory, think about growth. In one class, the professor asked, "If your business were a person, who would it be?" She answered without hesitation. "Me. Just with more courage." That's when she realized what she had built. Rising Closet wasn't just about clothes. It was about women rising again, about self-esteem, about empowerment, about starting over with dignity. A year after opening her first store, Danielle launched a second location, this time in partnership with a local cooperative. A bigger space, with a private consultation room, fitting booths, and a children's corner with a colorful rug, books, and toys. Isaiah cut the ribbon with a plastic toy scissors. Danielle's eyes filled with tears. It was all there. The pain, the struggle, the setbacks, the sleepless nights, and now, the recognition. In an interview with a local radio station, she was asked what she had learned most from her journey. Danielle took a deep breath and replied, "I've learned that no one can measure the strength of a mother who chooses to fight. When they left me alone, I thought I was sinking. But really, that was just the beginning of my rise." Today, Danielle continues running her shop, filming videos, inspiring women, raising her son with love and freedom. Isaiah grew up seeing his mother as a symbol of courage, honest work, and unshakable faith. And the entire city learned through her that being a brave mother is more than just surviving. It's turning the impossible into a story of triumph. If this story touched your heart the way it touched mine, then you understand that being a mother is about more than raising a child. It's about finding courage every single day, even when no one believes in you. Danielle showed us that even in the hardest moments, there is strength, dignity, and a new beginning. And there are so many other brave mothers out there, fighting in silence. So go ahead, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who needs a little inspiration today. Because when we honor stories like this, we change the world, one video at a time.